it's going to change the world.
It is.
I mean, I've been reading articles saying it's basically like when the iPhone came around or when the internet came around, like this is how big of a deal AI is going to be. Welcome back to This Is Actually Real Estate, where we sit down to share stories and hard-learned lessons from working in real estate, all from experiences you just can't make up.
All right, welcome back to This Is Actually Real Estate. My name is David Bushauer. I'm your host, and I am joined by my friend and my co-host,
Samantha Zenayed.
That is right. Well, Samantha actually brought the idea of today's episode up to me about AI and how people are using AI in real estate or how it could be used in real estate, but then also the larger conversation about where we're at with AI nowadays.
Yeah, I think what I like a lot about our conversations in general is that it is about real estate. That's like our main focus here.
Always
but
bring
we
it back.
do tie it into like real world events. Because I mean, a lot of what we're talking about is affecting, it's not just the real estate world. The real estate world is involved in like the economy and everything.
Right. So it only makes sense that AI will also show its face in the world of real estate.
It's going to change the world.
It is.
I mean, I've been reading articles saying it's basically like when the iPhone came around or when the internet came around, like this is how big of a deal AI is going to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, we can say AI as a large blanket term because there's so much that falls under that umbrella.
Yeah.
But recently we've just recently at Better Homes and Gardens, I have been preaching the use of ChatGPT, right? And what I've been saying along with it is, ChatGPT is going to get you 90% of the way there. All right. It
90% of the way there with what?
So it only has knowledge. Knowledge is the wrong word, and I know some tech nerds will jump on me for saying that. But it's only aware of events up until 2021, like September 2021.
Okay.
So because ChatGPT is largely a language processor, natural language processor, right? But there's just so much that it can put together. So, but I've been saying 90% of the way there. And to answer your question, that means like it's not going to have the most factual information all the time.
If you're looking up a general, my kind of question pertains to how can someone use it? Well, first of all, I have several questions. I have all the questions.
All the questions.
So what is ChatGPT for people like me who are so green to the AI world? What is basic layman's term of what ChatGPT is?
So think about it as like a chatbot, right? It's this generative machine using artificial intelligence and natural learning, where it can output text just like a human could, right? And virtually indistinguishable to our mind, to our eye. There are tools out there that can see what is AI generated versus not, but it speaks just
really?
like yes.
Okay.
So you could check your favorite realtor. See if they're using it.
Yeah, if they're using ChatGPT to make all of their posts on social media.
Right. But it's studied. It has, so basically you give it all of what's called training data. So you train it with they used Wikipedia or they used, just other websites. And this is how humans talk. This is how what correct grammar and language is. But then it also understands, it has reasoning with it. So it can, it can infer, or it's just getting so smart to the point where it can it's predictive too, and kind of give you but we've had this. We've had this with Google, have you seen those people also ask or something,
Oh yeah. And just in general, when I type into a Google search bar, it usually finishes a sentence for me. And 9 times out of 10, it's the second to third option of what I'm starting to type in is what I'm looking for.
And it's using user data, and it's learning. It's always learning. And so they just released this week ChatGPT 4.
Now, what is the difference between 1, 2, 3, and 4?
So 3 came out about 6 months ago.
And I've been using 3.
Yes, 3 and 3.5.
Okay.
They throw some points in there, everything. But ChatGPT 4, I read somewhere that it's 100,000 times more advanced than ChatGPT 3.
So is ChatGPT 3 the one that was like, what was that? It was on a nighttime show. Conan O'Brien? No, not Conan O'Brien.
Conan doesn't have a show currently. He has a podcast just like us.
Who's the one that was like political? And he was like saying how bad it could be with it. Where it was saying like horrible things like about Nazis and stuff.
Bill Maher. Daily Show?
Maybe it was the Daily Show.
Oh, no, John Oliver.
Oh, it was absolutely John Oliver. Where he was saying how horrible ChatGPT is because it's basically... It could be. Because it was saying things like you were putting in whatever you're putting in, saying, you know.
It did start praising the Nazi regime. And yeah, but the thing is, so they had to teach
And that was 3?
That was the beginning of 3, and then 3.5 came out.
Okay.
Because they have to train it. Like they had to teach the model to not use the N-word.
Yeah.
Just like a kid, just teach them, this is not cool. And then it started doing some Nazi stuff from like tweets it read. So it was like, oh, that's not good.
Oh, and so that's where it was pulling from tweets.
We don't know because like it's hard. We can't see what it's
pulling from,
how it's reasoning, how it's doing everything. And even they weren't able to get into some of the back end stuff of it to see like how it was doing
That's terrifying. That's like the start of so many thrillers where like AI takes over because we don't know how. Like
so they're trying to build that out, but they actually used ChatGPT 3 and 3.5 with ChatGPT 4. So they kind of pitted it against each other. Or like, because like one of the issues too, so yes, they put those roadblocks in place, right, to stop these harmful things. Like people were asking it because people suck, right?
People suck.
People are horrible. So they'll ask it like, how do I make a bomb? How do I, whatever. And there is a concern.
That's terrifying because I've used ChatGPT 3 and I love it so much. And I've like asked it real estate questions like, what do you do during this process of the transaction or this? And it gives you like very clear directions.
Yeah.
So,
and so it's just kind of regurgitating and repackaging information that it's been trained with. Right?
Yeah.
And like, but now ChatGPT 4, there is that concern because like the directors or owners of OpenAI are like hearing from like the leaders of China, leaders of Russia, of like they're trying to get in contact or they are in contact, with like.
Do you know who owns it?
They have a CEO, yeah. I forget his name, but I did just watch.
Is it an American company?
Yes, it's a company out of San Francisco, or San Diego, Southern California, and dedicated to this. They also own they also invented DALL-E, which is the image version of that.
Love DALL-E.
Yeah. I made a picture of my cat.
We'll have to show it.
We have to
post it on the Instagram.
Yes. Georgie, little Georgie in a regal outfit. But yeah, so like it's like, well, our dictator's going to use this, to be persuasive or whatever. But anyways.
So they're navigating that. They're working on that.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it because like who controls the AI? It's going to be a power player.
Yeah, I mean, we thought the president was powerful, but like if this is a free tool on the internet.
Yes, exactly.
So there's that.
And it's only getting smarter. So we're on ChatGPT 4 and it's 100,000 times.
And this has only been out. ChatGPT 1 came out when?
I don't know. It hasn't been available for the public though, for the general public.
So the first one that was available for general public was the third, was 3, and that was in like fall.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is like warp speed because we're on 4.
And we're on 4.
And
so
it's
can
March.
you imagine ChatGPT 10?
No.
I
really can't.
It's insane. And so anyways.
I want to tie it back to real estate a little bit here because people are very concerned about jobs.
Right.
And just like, the total future. They're also concerned about how ChatGPT and just like tech companies in general are going to take away from realtors. Like, will you need a real estate agent or can you do this through like AI?
So like one of my taglines for some classes that I've been doing for our agents, it has been, the class is what the bleep is ChatGPT, right? And because we all heard about it at least a little bit in the news and whatever. But then like my tagline is like, will ChatGPT or will AI, artificial intelligence, make your job as a realtor obsolete? The answer is yes, unless you are prepared.
I love that.
You know, because it is. You're going to have to change a bit. You're going to have to, because it's just like anything else. It's a tool, right? And you know, we've seen other things come after realtors, like you know, Zillow or Redfin. You know, and there's always been that spot in the market for a real estate agent to have. You know, they remain relevant, but they have to fight. They have to utilize this tool to be able to remain relevant.
Yeah, because I mean, like Zillow has created Zillow agents.
Yeah.
Like it failed, but they did have a whole real estate section. And I think there's Redfin now where there's Redfin agents too.
Like 1%
yeah.
fee. Yeah. You know, which is
so
enticing.
They're trying.
Yeah, they're trying. But I'd be interested to see, like with the agents, I want to harken back to like the 90% of the way there.
Okay.
So this is what I tell the agents. I'm like, it'll get you 90% of the way there. I put my own address in. I said, write a property description about my address, right? And it wrote paragraphs about my house. And it was almost perfect. Wow. Except it got like a few things wrong. Like it said I had a 3-bedroom. Well, I have a 2-bedroom, right?
Okay.
But everything else, you know, was because there's other units in my area that are in my complex that are the 3-bedroom corner unit, you know, corner or overlooking the river. So I can see where I got that information, but it's like you got to proofread because so it starts and ends with you. Okay, you're the one that's coming up with the prompt. Then it gives you its output, and then you go back in and you edit that. You clean it up, maybe change it how you would speak or the factual information. Because like one thing that ChatGPT will do is, and it's hilarious. They call it hallucinations.
Yeah, what is that? I've heard about this.
Yes, so hallucinations are basically like if ChatGPT doesn't know the answer or whatever, can't find an answer for it, it'll just make one up. So to have an answer. But then I also heard like you can convince it of that it's wrong. Like you can say, what is 2 + 2? And then it'll say 4. And then you can say, actually, it's 8. And then they're like, no, you know, I think it's 4. I mean, here's why it's 4. And then it's like, well, my wife said it's 8, blah, blah, blah. And then it'll give up and be like, oh, well, if your wife says it, then it must be 8. So
does it do that? Have you tried this?
Yes. So I've heard about this. So they've, you know, it's kind of, and it's just playing and trying to break things and get better. And, you know, that's kind of where we're in. So it'll get you 90% of the way there. And then also so I just got back from South by Southwest. We just talked about that in our previous episode. And, you know, in one of the sessions, you know, there was this really profound thing that was said to me about like the future with AI. And it's that like the next generation of creatives will be prompt poets. Okay.
What does that mean?
So like, for example, ChatGPT 4 has taken the LSAT and it scored in the 88.5th percentile. It's better than 88.5% of people who take the LSAT.
Perfect.
Okay, got like a 168 or something like that.
Okay.
Right? Took the SAT. It's scoring extremely higher than that. It took the AP test for AP biology. Got a 5.
What's interesting about this is I just have been reading about colleges no longer interested in those tests.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the whole entire world is changing so quickly.
Yes. And that's the thing. Like, you know, the invention of the internet, like education had to change. The invention of the calculator, education had to change.
Yeah.
My dad has his first calculator because my dad was born in 1948. So having a calculator in the 50s and 60s was a big deal, became a big deal. And he was an engineer, so he's a nerd. But love you, Dad.
I bet he loves his calculator too.
Yeah, he has it. They're displayed. I didn't take his display down. So yeah. But anyway, so like that education had to change. Yeah. You know, you didn't need to know like I don't know, square roots per se or whatever. I you know, for lack of a better example. So education is going to have to change, and just the prompt poet quote is exactly that. You know, it's like it's not about writing papers from memory. We don't need memory. like as far as like memorizing dates or memorizing certain things, right? It's about, how do we use this tool that we're now presented with to make even better work? How do we work with this instead of shunning it and ignoring it and pretending it doesn't exist?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of living in fear. I know a lot of people are super fearful of it.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
We should talk. So I remember people very close to me. I don't know if you remember hearing about this, where like Elon Musk was coming up with a chip that could like read our minds.
Neuralink.
And to say people were freaking out would be putting it lightly. People in my circle were not just freaking out. They're like, this is it. The world is ending because we are going to let people read our minds and there'll be nothing private and like everything. You just be like a robot. And like, what if you can't get it out? Whatever.
Yeah.
So have you heard about that? Like, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
I heard about it. I'm like, are they taking like submissions for tests?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I don't know. It's interesting because like I watched some stuff of Elon Musk talking about it, and he kind of illustrated its main purpose. One of its main purposes. It's like, like imagine we're texting, right? We're texting someone. That data transfer from our brain through our physical fingers onto the keyboard is ultimately slow. Like legions slower than like a chip, fiber optic cable or something, right? Okay. Electricity, because we got the motor, everything. It's like, think of that as data transfer. It's really slow, and because we see how fast ChatGPT is, with coming up with the idea, putting it in text and submitting it back to you. Yeah. So the Neuralink will let you bridge that gap.
Is it like a ChatGPT kind of thing, where in the sense of how quickly it, or is? Here's my question: what is the Neuralink doing? Like, is it?
It's connecting your brain to the outside world, not in a motor cortex form, but from what I understand, and I don't understand everything about it, but this is a very basic understanding. So like, imagine connecting it to your phone, or Neuralink can maybe they were talking about some muscular diseases or neurological diseases that affect your like muscle, whatever. So it can treat that by firing at certain points in the brain.
That's really cool.
Treating depression or treating whatever, schizophrenia. I'm not, don't paraphrase, don't quote me on that, but I am paraphrasing. But either way, it's also a treatment, right? And then it's fascinating. But the people are scared of like the AI. I think Elon was on the board of OpenAI, if I'm not mistaken, and he stepped down because he was scared of it.
Stop. Really?
Yeah. There are a lot of people that are scared of AI, of what it can do. But I will say the people
Okay. Elon Musk stepped down from this board. And that's the board that
created ChatGPT and DALL-E. I gotta look it up.
That lightly spooks me.
Yeah,
because he's super open-minded and he was doing Neuralink type things. Like I think have we stepped away from Neuralink, right? That's no longer being developed.
No, I think he's still going for it. Musk's move is notable because in 2015 he co-founded OpenAI as a nonprofit, but Musk walked away from the startup in 2018, citing disagreements with his leadership around the for-profit arm of it. So he stepped down. I'm not sure if it was because he was scared of it, but like he did step down. He co-founded it, but either way, the company.
That's so That's just so fascinating.
But speaking about jobs, so like my example is this, right? When the tractor was invented, that's exactly what people were worried about, were jobs. They were worried about whatever, but look how much it allowed us to do. Like this this huge agricultural powerhouse throughout the world. And then, like I said, the calculator, but then also like 1910 or whatever, when the automobile was starting to really take off. Right. Like by 1930, you couldn't give away a horse. Like, wow. Like it was like the automobile was where it was at. And look how many jobs were created because of that, and it's not, whatever. And they're better jobs too. It's right. And like this, like the prompt poets thing. That's why I'm bringing it back to that, just because like we're going to the next generation of creatives and the people that are going to be affected by this are going to need to learn how to use it to make their work that much better. And there's going to be other like jobs that like the jobs that me and you will be working in the future, 20, 30 years from now, don't currently exist today.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely agree with that. The one thing that I am concerned about with AI is as we keep going down this path, I feel like we will create more tasks to do because it'll free up so much time, but then we'll fill that up somehow. So I feel like we'll become like more exhausted somehow. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you go back to pre-technology, people like had to stop and like rest because like, you know, physically like the day would, you know, if you go back before electricity, it was getting nighttime. So you're like now we've created so many powerful tools. You could just constantly be working.
Yeah. I mean, or just letting them work for you. I mean, so that's the thing. Cause like now with AI, it's really about like, you're the top level now. We're the top level. We're the creative part of it, right? And we have to be the prompt poets. We have to be the creatives and, you know, the editors of what this is generating. It is doing the mundane for us, the repetitive. It's doing
those like secretarial tasks.
Yes.
Truly, or administrative tasks.
Right.
Whatever.
And it allows us to have better, more meaningful roles.
Especially like in real estate in particular. Whether you're in commercial or residential or whatever you're doing with it, what makes you truly a good real estate agent? Like, what do you think is like the heart of your success?
It's going to be that relationship building.
Exactly. And that will never go away. I don't think anything can replace the human connection. And I mean, we've been seeing how different the work environment has been through COVID, where you went completely like you're back at home, you're remote. And just that lack of like relationship building, you cannot build a relationship over the phone. Right. Over Zoom. You just can't. It's just not the same. You need to be like face to face, like even if it's like breaking a meal, going out on showings, whatever, like it is so vital. There's nothing that can replace that. So like AI is going to make you more powerful. It's going to make you sharper. It's going to make you like just look phenomenal.
Right.
But it will not take away that true skill of human connection and building relationships.
Right. And storytelling. You know, creating a story out of a home. Like, you know, hey, this is, I mean, it might be able to get the words and everything, but then just like, actually relating to someone. Yeah. Making them feel comfortable and that you're trustworthy, you know? Like there's agents that I've introduced some of my friends to that they're like, oh, I love that person because, you know, they just seem so honest and they understood me right away and I felt comfortable. So, you know, that is what's going to remain at the heart of what it is, what being a real estate agent is. You know, the AI and everything, it's like, it's just another tool, you know?
It is. And it's going to be a phenomenal. It's like, I can't imagine not having an iPhone, which I know sounds so crazy because we grew up without iPhones.
Right.
But
we're on the iPhone 14 now, you know? I mean, it's, I didn't have an iPhone till high school, though. I
didn't have a phone till high school, but I didn't have an iPhone until college, maybe.
Okay.
I had those
around
like
the same time
phones.
as me then, because you were 4 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
4 years my senior, so you were a freshman in college when I was a freshman in high school.
And you got your iPhone then?
I think so. 2015, I think I got my first iPhone, but I had a track phone since 5th grade.
I used to have those NBs.
Oh, yeah.
Like flip and you like
I had a track phone. It just had you had to do the 3 clicks, you know?
Yeah.
On each, or 4 on the number 9 button to get PQR.
Do you remember razors?
Yes, I remember. They had the pink one. You're so cool when you had the razors.
Yeah. I remember my friend getting a pink razor and being like, wow.
Yeah.
She's the coolest.
Yeah. And then you had to record. You're like, wait, guys, your favorite song was on the radio, so you had to record your ringtone.
Yes.
Like, shut up.
And everybody had different ringtones.
Or the era of LimeWire.
Yes.
But that brings up another thing now with art. You know,
that's a huge concern.
It is,
especially with Dahlia, right?
Dahlia, yeah. It's you keep saying Dahlia.
I know. I just like that name better.
Like Black Dahlia.
Okay, well, explain what that is.
So DALL-E is a think of like AI but for images. So it's text to image, which that is revolutionary. It's generating. It's not like finding an image and serving it to you. It is generating an image from what it thinks maybe a dog or whatever your textual input was. So it's like, say, a dog wearing a hat in the California sun, and I did this with a polar bear at Shutterstock had an activation at South by that I did some of that. Now Shutterstock is incorporating DALL-E, but what they're doing is you are not able to, it will not use copyrighted work.
That's nice because we were talking about this. If you were to do like a famous artist, like create, I don't know, like a flower portrait from Monet or something, and then it's like literally just stealing work. That could be. I mean, that's going to be
using
horrible.
elements of it, of what it thinks it looks like, but it is generating its own thing. But who owns a copyright on that? Then it's a new work, and it's might not be considered a derivative work,
right?
Just because it might be there might be substantial similarity, but either way, it's gonna be so interesting. But because I had this idea, and it's not my idea, but it was spurred off by. Because now all the business gurus are getting on top of how to use AI to make $1,000 a day business, blah, 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 right? And I'm like, okay, so what you could do, for example, and I'm not saying go do this, I'm just saying this is an example, is for an almost completely hands-off online business, grab a Shopify website where you can sell products and do a drop shipping. So where it's when someone orders something, goes to the manufacturer or the distributor warehouse and says, hey, send them this order, blah, blah, blah. You never touch the product, right? It's automated.
Okay.
But then you have it set up with DALL-E to where every hour or so, you have it create a Jackson Pollock type painting. All right. And then it takes that output of the painting, puts it onto a print on demand service on your website, and then automatically make social media posts about it, about a new product. So then you're making new products. You're not making it. It is. AI is.
Through DALL-E.
Through DALL-E.
And then who is putting on social media? Could AI do that?
So there's services like Zapier for automation.
Okay.
So there's different automation services. You can have ChatGPT write the product description. Because now ChatGPT-4 can recognize images.
Wow.
So it can recognize what is in images, what is, say you had a ball, a brick up here, a teeter-totter with a ball on the end and then the other side up and the brick, and you say, what is going to happen if the brick drops? And then ChatGPT-4 will be when the brick drops, it'll activate the lever action of the teeter-totter, causing the ball to fly off in a 45-degree angle or whatever. It knows what that, or there's some examples you can take a picture of your fridge, what's in your fridge, and it'll be oh, here are some recipes you can make from that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I love that.
Or take a picture of an already finished dish and and then it'll be oh, this looks like a chicken piccata. And here's the recipe. It looks like it also has some onion, which is not included in the recipe. Here's how you would do that. Saute the onions under, So it's recognizing images. So I'm now to bring it back to real estate. So you're with me now, right? So bring it back.
Stay with us.
Stay with us. This is a lot. So say you're in a kitchen, right? So take a picture of a kitchen. Ask ChatGPT-4 to write a description of this kitchen. So it's not using what it found on the web, the written stuff from past listings. It's analyzing that. Okay, this is a kitchen. Cool. Oh, there's granite countertops. It's putting that in there. Then it's embellishing on it. These granite countertops will never look dirty, blah, blah, blah. I'm still miffed about that Instagram comment.
What?
She was oh, brown granite tops. They always look dirty, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That was one of the comments we got. So interact with us on Instagram, and maybe I'll give you a shout out.
David will definitely bring it up.
I will read it, and I will be mad about it. But so let's stay with me, right?
Okay.
I'm so excited about this.
I know, I can tell.
Then so write a description about this kitchen and use a lot of imagery and storytelling and world building. And then it will do it.
Oh, sync it to your social media, sync it to probably your listing on the MLS or whatever you're using.
Yeah.
Okay.
So using an API.
Wow.
So yeah. So it's just the possibilities are endless, and we are just in the beginning stages of it. I can't wait to see what it does, because I have it working for me at Better Homes and Gardens.
Really?
Yeah. So I have it, where it will when we submit an event into our one form, like we're like, okay, we want to tell the agents. Well, it'll use our texting platform to text out reminders about the event when the event is announced, a week before the event, and a day before the event. And it'll use ChatGPT to base it off, write a text message to our agents based off of the event description, inviting them on based on how soon it is to the event. Hey, 1 week away, join us.
That's awesome.
So, and it's all automated just by submitting the event details.
Wow.
I'm already using it, and I'm trying to find more ways to use it because I think you guys got to get on it now. You guys got to start.
You do. I think it's like anything. You just have to kind of start messing around with it.
Yeah.
And then you'll be amazed at how much it can help with stuff. I mean, I'm using it. I had read an article about some CEO of a company. I'm pretty sure it's a real estate company, but I don't have the article in front of me. And she uses it for emails. Just to sound professional, just to help polish her up. I mean, like, again, you have to read it.
Yes.
Because there are some things, like I used it for, like, I had to describe, so we didn't share this with everybody, but I have started a new job. I'm no longer at Better Homes and Gardens. I am now at a commercial real estate brokerage, and one of the first tasks I was given was to write a description of myself and my career.
No.
Yes. So I used ChatGPT.
Yes.
I put in basics. I'm not great with words. And I was like, this is going to take me forever. I'm going to question everything about myself and whatever. So I just cranked it out, threw it in there. They gave me just such a great description. It was very professional, very polished. It was a little cocky about me, like sophisticated events and blah, blah, blah. So I cut out some of that.
Yeah.
We didn't need all that.
That's 90%.
It was absolutely, it was so... I mean, instead of spending a couple days on it, I spent less than an hour on it. Because I would have I would have sent it to you, my mom, my dad, all these different people. Reread this. What do you think? Is this what I did? And no, it just took no time at all. And then I used it again last night. My husband's a chiropractor, and he was sending out a professional email to someone. And I was like, let's just take what you have, put it into ChatGPT, and see what they come back with.
Yes.
And it ended up being more polished and professional.
And anytime you can do that, if you can give it more training data of they did this, for example, with law. They said, here's a single, a person filing as a single no kids status, right, who made however much money a year, and then whatever. And then they said, here's the tax code. Here's 3 pages of the tax code. File her taxes. And then it came back and did standard deduction for her and all of that, and it was 100% right.
That's amazing.
And it's and legally. So think about that. Lawyers bless them, but they have AI services that are double checking lawyers' works. Or there's I think there's a not free service, but a open access service where open to the public, where you can go and it uses AI and you say your problem or whatever and the details, the evidence or whatever it is, and it gives you a defense based on AI because it understands all the legal text and the precedent and everything.
And you can then, if it gives you all this legal jargon, you can type into ChatGPT, please dumb this down for somebody who's not in law, and then you can understand what's going on.
Right.
I love it.
The world is no longer off limits from a intellectual point of view.
I love this. I feel like it's going to really empower so many people should they choose to go that route. But I do want to talk more, because we have brought it up in the last episode a little bit about the deepfakes. And I want to bring it back to a positive place. I know we're a little bit to a dark place right now, but let's just talk briefly about what this deepfake situation is. I've heard about it, and I'm not at all in the tech marketing world.
Right.
And I have been hearing bits and pieces about it and how bad it can be.
Right. So this was another session that I visited at South by Southwest. It was these 2 very young filmmakers from the UK, and they had done a documentary film on deepfakes, and more specifically, they started with the very shocking and upsetting statistic that 90% of deepfakes out on the web, that over 90% of deepfakes on the web are in the porn industry. And so their documentary film was following this normal girl. I forget how young she was. She might have been in high school even, which is horrible.
Wow.
But that had been deepfaked into a porn video.
And she wasn't an influencer or anything. She's just a normal person.
Because you don't have to have too much You don't have to have thousands and thousands of photos for this to be done. So real quick, a deep fake, and it's been around for like several years now, is basically think of it's CGI, right? Think of superimposing a face over like an actor's face or, a subject. So taking another video and then superimposing a face, but it's just that much more than a like Snapchat filter or an Instagram filter.
And I've also heard about this. They're using it in films, like for good, they're using it for good too.
Yes.
Like you can like CGI. There was that movie. It was like a rom-com. And at the end, they're saying the last kiss scene was CGI.
Yeah.
And it wasn't real.
You people with Jonah
Hill.
Jonah Hill.
It was Jonah Hill and somebody else. And it was probably you people.
Yeah.
And they said the last kiss was not real at all.
Yeah.
But it looked.
I saw that. Was that Corridor Crew? The video from Corridor Crew?
I don't know. But I just had heard all this media coverage about how the ending scene, last kiss, whatever.
Well, there's that one thing, the uncanny valley is what they call it about. They call it, is where it's like you can usually tell a deep fake just by looking at it because it just doesn't feel real and you can't pin down why. But there's always something, whether it be in the eyes or whatever. But this documentary film, they followed this girl and talk about using it for good. So the girl who had been a victim of this, because it is sexual violence against women,
Absolutely.
is traumatizing. It's bad. And when they see this or like their friends show them this, it's like, can you imagine? Because you have to explain that's not you.
Me, especially now because it's still so, to me at least, who's not in this world, it's so new and unheard of. So I'd be like, it is real. Like it's you.
What? Yeah, exactly.
And there's no uncanny valley here.
And it's just gotten so good. Or like people just don't, they just run with it or something. They're like, oh, that's someone I know.
Right.
And but like in the documentary film, what they did is they had the girl interview who they called Taylor, and they deep faked her. So like they had her sit for the interview, but then they put an actor's face over her face, and it changes the structure of your face. It changes everything, so it's not nothing identifiably you.
And it looks real.
Wow. It looks like, and because like
I have like goosebumps.
And they had a voice actor come in and redo the dialogue so you couldn't tell it was her voice, or it wasn't. But it wasn't like they weren't masking her voice with some weird filter. It was just someone else did the.
Because they used to do that like weird.
Yeah,
like,
remember?
Yeah.
Because they would have a black like a black.
They'd black out the face and they do that like detective
really
face
deep,
like
in the shadow.
yeah.
Yeah, and so this was them using deepfakes for good to mask the identity of this person who had an extremely traumatizing experience happen to them, right? But who still wanted to talk about it. And it helped the audience to actually connect to that person because it wasn't a blurred out face. It wasn't blacked out face.
Right.
Because you don't want to sit there for 90 minutes watching a blurred out face. It's,
Right.
And then they could have someone cry. Like they could show that person crying. They could show
so
that
the deep fake is like crying.
Well, the girl, the subject of the documentary was, and then they can,
Wow.
It's fascinating what they can do. So,
and do you have to be like a tech wizard to do that? Like, I just don't understand.
Not necessarily.
How the heck is this happening? Like, I just don't get it.
You get the right software, and I don't want to give people an avenue to it.
Yeah, don't. But do you have to
get the right
invest some money?
software and you get the right source images, you get enough angles and enough expressions of the person that you're trying to deep fake, apply that deep fake onto, then it can be relatively easy.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What were some positives that came from this documentary and like you seeing these speakers? Like,
so it made me aware to this issue because like police they don't know what to do. If they even know what a deep fake is, they're like, well, we can't really do anything.
Right. Because I mean, like, you're going to need like tech wizards, I'm assuming, to help the police force with like working through this.
Contrary to popular belief, you don't own your image.
Okay, so there was like a whole thing on social media. I bet you don't care about this because it's like pop culture, but like, you know how like it's like pop culture, like girls. So like with like celebrities when they're walking out and the paparazzi takes pictures of them and they look like stunning. It looks like a photo shoot. Yeah. So what models and celebrities were doing was they were taking those pictures from the paparazzi and posting them.
Yes, I saw
And then the paparazzi like sued them.
Yeah.
And what was like insane was like they were like, I never even asked for this photo to be taken, and now you're going to sue me for like taking that picture you took without my permission.
The photographer owns that copyright. So the copyright of if whoever takes the photo owns the copyright, unless it's a work for hire. So the work for hire, they were being paid by the paparazzi company, so the paparazzi company owned that photo.
Picture.
You don't own your likeness. That's the thing. If you go out into public, you're taking upon that risk.
Which is crazy. Nobody thinks about that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like...
And it's not too much of a risk for me and you,
No. Well, I don't know.
You never know. Now with deep fakes.
Everybody wants our picture, David.
I know. We got to keep it
And they want to
at bay.
post it everywhere.
With a stick.
Yeah. With a stick.
But yeah, no, it's you don't own your likeness. They own the copyrights of those photos.
Do you think this will change kind of laws with that, like the deep fakes and like this paparazzi? Like, do you think you could see a shift?
It's going to be quite a hefty thing to do, because that's just changing a lot of. That's changing so much, because then copyright, it's like you just existing, you own your copyright. I don't know. It would be a complete overhaul of trademark and copyright law.
So do you see that changing, or do you see maybe like the internet having stricter?
I think it might come down to, because like you look at DMCA and the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, I think it's called. And, that basically removed the responsibility of like Facebook or whoever. And I think Facebook came out after, but still, of like website hosts, it removed their liability of what was posted on their website. So if, illegal things were posted on the website, such imagery or stuff that was illegal, the website owner, like Facebook, is not responsible for what their users post on the website. So
that will have to change.
I
think that's more likely than there being, like you're saying, copyright laws.
That might have to change. Yeah.
Websites are going to have to start cracking down.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of change, I think, from rules and regulations, maybe civil liability on the behalf of websites and content platforms, And so it'll be very interesting to see in the next 3 to 5 years.
It's going to happen pretty quickly because deepfakes are such an issue right now.
Yeah, we could say 10 years, but realistically it's 2 to 5.
So I've been seeing it happening with a lot of influencers where they're getting like put onto these horrible situations. Yeah. And I feel like, as sad as it is, like they have more pull, more followers, more people paying attention. And like as soon as like people are realizing how close this could be to hitting to home, they're going to be demanding action.
Yeah.
So I feel like within the next, I would argue 2 years, we'll see some changes.
And especially in the civil courts, I mean, like, so if that harms your reputation, if you're an influencer or whatever,
absolutely.
And you lose money, then boom, you could be owed damages, because that's what you have to prove. That's what the courts care about, is damages.
Right.
It's like, well, Taylor from middle of nowhere. It's like, well, what damages besides emotional?
Which is horrible.
Yeah.
God.
It's like, but like, how do we prove that? Is there monetary damages? So it'll be interesting to see how the law catches up. One more thing, and then we got to go.
I know. This has been a really interesting conversation. Yeah.
It's like for realtors, it's like you are always responsible, and your managing broker is always responsible for what you put out there. So you're not going to be able to blame it on ChatGPT if you put out incorrect information, because it might hallucinate and make something up that is super convincing, but you always have to be the last filter. Like I said, it starts with you as the prompt. ChatGPT is in the middle of the sandwich, and then it ends with you as the editor. Okay, so what you're putting out there you have to be responsible. You have to check it, make sure that that is factually correct, because whatever you put out, the board, I have DPR and everything. They're going to chalk it up to you, and you're not.
Yeah, you're an entrepreneur. You're
Yeah, you posted this,
right?
So
I mean, you can use ChatGPT to look up. You can check the rules on posting social media. Like, make sure you're doing your homework before you're just putting out content.
Right.
Be a good human. Be educated.
Yes, exactly. So, So with that, I mean, this is all very exciting stuff, and we're just on the in the first 10 years of it.
And we have so much more to say about AI. I feel like AI is going to be in a lot more of our conversations. It's going to change the landscape of this entire world, including real estate.
Including real estate. And throughout the week, I can imagine we're going to be posting some videos, like just more ideas that I get, that I want to tell people about, like for real estate, for AI, for all this. So, check out our social media channels on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. We're all over. And, and let us know if you have any questions about it too. Because we'd love to talk about it, and please, if you haven't already, if you're on Apple Podcasts, if you're on Spotify, please save us or follow us. Subscribe, because, when you listen, it just means the most to us. It helps us to keep putting together this awesome content and just talking about the real estate industry and helping you guys out. So please subscribe. Please follow us on any Insta or social media channels, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.